You don't have to be a biker to know about bikes. You can be a bike enthusiast and learn many things. So tell us, are you a biker or a bike enthusiast? Today's video is about the legendary Harley-Davidson. Welcome, this is Business Al, your favorite YouTube business channel. We know you are a huge fan of Harley-Davidson. So let's take a look into the history. Harleys are big, loud, fast, and inherently American. In fact, Harley-Davidson has been an American icon for over 100 years. And they're not only a motorcycle brand, but also a fashion brand. So let's go back to 1901. A young man named William Harley, who is just like any young man, he thought about the future, making things interesting, and what would make history. All these ordinary young man things. So he makes a little sketch of a motorcycle. Well, it wasn't exactly a motorcycle. It was a bicycle with an engine. But you didn't have to pedal it like a regular bicycle. So it became known as a motorcycle. While he was sketching, he was envisioning where he was going to go with it. Sounds like he had big revolutionary ideas. In 1903, about a year and a half later, his friend Arthur Davidson joined him. They built the legendary Harley-Davidson Motor Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They had a little wooden shed 10 feet by 15 feet where they made their first motorcycles. Incidentally, in 2014, one of the original motorcycles sold at auction for nearly $15 million. So if you have an old Harley sitting in your garage somewhere, you might want to check it out. If it's a really old one that your great-grandfather owned, you might not have to work anymore. So just go dust that thing off and take it to an auction. Simple. So was Harley-Davidson successful right away? No. The company really began to take off during World War II. Earlier, these bikes were called military bikes because at the first production, most commoners wouldn't buy them. So they sold 1/3 of their bikes to the military. Their bikes were used in World War I, which gave them success and an added advantage to the military, and not the least, a lot of time with guys with guns who would be seen on motorcycles. If not for the war, Harley-Davidson might not even exist today. But keep watching to know the history of this legend. In 1904, following the birth of the motorcycle, came the first dealer. A dealer in Milwaukee sold some of the first production bikes, the ones they repeatedly made that they were selling to the public. In that same year, the first motorcycle was sold in Chicago, Illinois, to a member of the public, C.H. Lang, who is a legend in Harley-Davidson history. Harley progressed fast. In 1909, their first V-twin engines were seen. Now, if you look at all these Harleys, you can see those are V-twin engines, and they date back to 1909. They're far more advanced these days, but the iconic shape of the engine and all those cooling fins we now see started way back then in the beginning. In 1910, they trademarked the familiar logo of the Harley-Davidson Company. We know it's different from the logo they use today, but it's kind of cool to be able to see that this was the original logo. In 1914, the first motorcycle helmet was introduced, not by Harley-Davidson, but by a doctor watching motorcycle races and seeing people crash and get hurt and sometimes die. He devised a way to take a little canvas and shellac and make a little more than an eggshell that you'd wear on your head. But another entrepreneur saw all these and came up with a better idea, and boom, the helmet was born. By 1920, Harley is officially the largest motorcycle company in the world. Copycats were emerging, but Harley-Davidson was one of a kind. And by that time, they had around 2,000 dealers in 67 countries. This was the history-breaking motorcycle company of all time. They started in 1903, and by 1920, they were global. This is huge! But in this same year, the hog entered the picture. Now, if you know anything about Harley, you should know that they're called hogs all the time. It came from this variety of Harley racer. He would win a race, pick up the baby pig, and take it to the victory lap. And Harley-Davidson won so much that the Harleys eventually became known as hogs. So that's where that little nickname came from. Crazy, isn't it? In 1928, the Twin came out, and yes, they continued to grow and be successful and be this amazing company. But also something interesting happened in this year as well. The Twin Cam Harley 1928 had a top speed of a little over 100 miles per hour. That was the max of an absolute flat top speed of 100 miles per hour. There's only one word for this: damn! Yep, that was fast, especially back then. This shows that Harley-Davidson was about racing, speed, freedom, and enthusiasm. Riding a Harley gives you adrenaline and a euphoric rush that can't be explained in words. Wouldn't you agree? In 1941, World War II came and all civilian bike production stopped again. They were then building bikes for the military for the service patrols because the military found it a very effective means of transport. They produced around 60,000 cycles for the military. In 1947, World War II was almost ending, and the first motorcycle jacket was made and sold. And now get this, many of the soldiers who had been riding Harleys in the military wanted to continue riding Harleys when the war ended. And with that and the leather jackets, they were the beginning of the motorcycle gangs we know today. By the end of the 70s, Harley-Davidson wasn't just about selling motorcycles anymore. It was dealing with a lifestyle with vests, jackets, and t-shirts. Harley-Davidson even had a club, the Harley Owners Group, or HOG for short. And if you owned a Harley-Davidson, you were just cool. In 1954, they had a hiccup, were charged with restrictive business practices, and started to see a slow in their growth. It's because they missed a step. So what happened is that there were cheaper motorcycles in the market from other parts of the world, and Harley didn't like that because it was competition. They tried to restrict this by adding tariffs, but that wasn't the way to do it. Yeah, they made a mistake. And 14 years later in 1969, believe it or not, this wonderful, incredible company went nearly bankrupt. AMF bought Harley-Davidson. They started to create profit without focusing on the product and the quality, which didn't work out well, which gave Harley-Davidson's, or HD, a nickname of hardly drivable, still HD. And in 1981, the company had a comeback with Willie Davidson, a descendant of the founder, and 18 senior executives. They went to AMF and bought back the company. They also had a logo that said, "The Eagle Soars Alone." In 1984, the company made a profit of $2.9 million. This shows their grand comeback. They said, Harley is back on track. 2 years later, in 1986, the profits hit $4.3 million. Harley-Davidson went public in 1986 and continues to rake in the cash into this millennium. Later in 2006, as its core customer reached middle age, the company's stock price peaked and reported over $1 billion in profits. But then in 2007, they fell a little bit. It was that period of the recession. Like many other companies, Harley struggled with its sales. They haven't completely recovered from that, even though they're the most iconic motorcycle company of all time. People call Harley-Davidson an antique because most models were stopped and only the big black hog model remains intact. Are Harley-Davidson owners a badass club with badass bikes? Do you own a Harley? Do you have Harley-Davidson apparel? Well, tell us if you're a badass. Let us know what part of the video inspired you the most and hit the subscribe button.